Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to learn about Pythagoras' theorem. We've got 4 success criteria, and the first one is to be able to recall Pythagoras' theorem. So the discovery. Pythagoras was a Greek mathematician, and he noticed something about the squares drawn from the sides of a right-angled triangle. So if you add the area of those two squares together, you will always get the area of the square on the longest side of the right angled triangle. So Pythagoras' theorem is this. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And c is always opposite the right angle in the triangle. So the side c is always opposite the right angle. This side is known as the hypotenuse, and it's the longest side of a right angled triangle. And as we've said, it's always opposite the right angle. And when we use Pythagoras' theorem, we always have to label it C. So now we've completed success criteria 1, we're going to move on to number 2. And this is to use Pythagoras' theorem to find the hypotenuse. So we want to work out the length of x. So that's the hypotenuse. So we're going to use this. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this side has to be c. Remember, c has to be opposite the right angle. For the other two sides, it doesn't matter which one's a and b. I'm going to label them like this. And then we can substitute those numbers into Pythagoras' theorem. So a is 4, so I've replaced a with the number 4. B is 3, so I've replaced b with 3. And c is x, so I've replaced c with x. Now 4 squared is 16, and 3 squared is 9. Remember, squared means times by itself, so 4 times 4 is 16, and 3 times 3 is 9. And when we add those together, they make 25. So that means that x squared must be 25. So to find out x, I just need to square root that. So the square root of 25 is 5. Remember, the square root means what number times by itself makes 25, and the answer is 5. So the value of x must be 5. Here's another one. Again, we want to work out the length of x, but this time to 2 decimal places. So we label up the sides. This side has to be c, because c has to be opposite the right angle, and it doesn't matter which one's a and b. So we're going to do 10 squared plus 5 squared equals x squared. 10 squared is 100, and 5 squared is 25. So when we add those together, they make 125. So now we need to square root that, and the square root of 125 on the calculator to 2 decimal places is 11.18. So x is 11.18 to 2 decimal places. Here's one for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So this is what you should have done. So you label your sides, so that side is c, and it doesn't matter which one's a and b. So we do 15 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. 15 squared is 225, and 8 squared is 64. So that means x squared is 289. So to find out x, we need to square root 289, which is 17. So x is 17. In this example, I want to give my answer in the form a root b. So this is leaving our answer in what we call surd form. So I do the same thing. This side has to be c, because it's opposite the right angle, and it doesn't matter which one's a and b. So I do 15 squared plus 5 squared. 15 squared is 225, and 5 squared is 25. And if I add those together, that's 250. So I need to square root 250. Now if I want to leave this as a root b, I think about what square number times is to get 250, and that's 25 and 10. So we can square root 25, that's 5, but we can't square root 10, so we just leave it as 5 root 10, and that's my answer. Here's one for you to have a go at, so this time you need to leave it as a root b. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So for this question, again, label up your sides. So that side needs to be C, and it doesn't matter which one's A and B. So 12 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared. 12 squared is 144, and 4 squared is 16. So when we add those together, we get 160. So we need to square root 160. Now again, we need to think about what square number goes into 160. So we can do the square root of 16 times 10. And the square root of 16 is 4, but we can't do the square root of 10. So we just leave it as 4 root 10. Here's some questions for you to have a go at. You can leave your answers as surds, or you can leave them to 1 decimal place. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answers, there's your amber answers, there's your red answers, and there's your purple answer. And now we've completed success criteria 2, so we're going to move on to number 3, and this is to use Pythagoras' theorem to find any side in a right-angled triangle. So again, we've got a right-angled triangle, and we want to find out the length of x to 1 decimal place. So we use Pythagoras' theorem. Now remember, the side that we label as C needs to be opposite the right angle, and the side that's missing this time can be labelled as A. So we substitute those into our formula in our Pythagoras' theorem. So A is x, B is 7, and C is 12. So we can write x squared plus 7 squared equals 12 squared. 7 squared is 49, and 12 squared is 144. So this time we need to think about what number do we add to 49 to get 144. So what we need to do is we need to take away 49. So x squared is 95. Then to find out x, we need to square root 95. So that's 9.7 to 1 decimal place. Here's another example. This time we're going to leave our answer in surd form. So we're going to use Pythagoras' theorem, and remember C has to be opposite the right angle, so that side is C, and the other two can be A and B. So we've got x squared plus 5 squared equals 15 squared. 5 squared is 25, and 15 squared is 225. So we need to take away 25. So the x squared is 200, and then we need to do the square root of 200. which we can write as the square root of 100 times 2, and the square root of 100 is 10, but we can't do the square root of 2, so we leave it as 10 root 2. Here's a question for you to have a go at, and you can leave your answer to 3 significant figures. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So this is what we should have done. We're going to use Pythagoras Theorem, and this side has to be C, because it's opposite the right angle. This side can be A, and this side can be B. So we've got x squared plus 9 squared equals 11 squared. Just substitute those numbers into Pythagoras Theorem. 9 squared is 81, and 11 squared is 121. So we need to take away 81 to work out what x squared is. So x squared is 40. That means x will be the square root of 40. Now we're going to leave our answer to 3 significant figures, so it's 6.32. Here's some questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. There's your green answers, there's your amber answers, and there's your red answers. Now we've completed success criteria 3, so we're going to move on to number 4, and this is to apply to problem solving questions. So in this question, we want to calculate the length of YZ to 3 significant figures. So first of all, we'll just look at this triangle here, ZWX. So if we want to find the length of ZX, so we can use Pythagoras' theorem for that. So xz squared is 25. So if we square root 25, that side there must be 5 centimeters. So now we can use that to work out the length of YZ or ZY, because we now know that side there is 5 centimeters. So we use Pythagoras' theorem. So YZ squared is 29. So we need to square root 29. So YZ is 5.39 to 2 decimal places, or 3 significant figures. Here's 3 questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So let's have a look at these questions. So for the green question, we want to calculate the length of BD. So if we look at this triangle first and work out the length of BC, so we can do BC squared plus 3 squared equals 5 squared. So that means BC squared is 16. So BC is 4. So that's 4 centimeters there. So now we look at the second triangle, and we want to work out the length of BD. So we can do 4 squared plus 4 squared equals BD squared. So BD squared is 32. So if we square root that, BD is 5.66 centimeters. On the amber question, it says the diagram represents a park. The lines show the paths in the park. The circular path is in the center of the rectangle and has a diameter of 10 meters. Calculate the shortest distance from A to C across the park using only the paths shown. So if we work out the total distance from A to C first of all, using Pythagoras' theorem, So that length there is the square root of 5,200, and we'll just leave it like that for now. Now we need to take away the diameter of the circle. So the diameter of the circle is 10 meters. So we need to take away 10 meters. And then we just need to find out that curved section of the circle. So to do that, we do the circumference of the circle, which is pi times diameter. But because we only want half of it, we need to divide it by 2. So in terms of pi, that will be 5 pi. So the shortest distance is the square root of 5,200. Take away the diameter of 10 meters plus the curved semicircle, which is 5 pi. And if we type that into the calculator, we should get 77.8 meters. And finally, the red question. So we're going to use Pythagoras' theorem to show that the angle BAC is a right angle. So if we have a look at this triangle here and work out the length of x, so x is 24, so that length there is 24 centimeters. And then we have a look at this triangle here and work out the length of y. So using Pythagoras, y is 22.5 centimeters. So then we have a look at the whole triangle, and if it's a right angled triangle, then we can say that those two sides squared must equal the hypotenuse squared. So let's see if it does. So 30 squared is 900, and 22.5 squared is 506.25, and 37.5 squared is 1406.25. So they equal each other. So it must be a right angled triangle because it works for Pythagoras' theorem. And now we've completed success criteria 4. So now that we've completed the last objective, it's time to end the video. Hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it useful. Make sure to like and subscribe and be sure to check out the other videos on the rest of the channel. I'll see you next time. See ya.